Oh, I'm so excited to see you, Luther. I'm Jim Carty with the Patch newspaper. I'm here with Luther Dickinson of the North Mississippi Allstars.
Hey, how are you, Jim?
I'm great. It's great to see you. I have such an affinity for you and what you and Cody do. Since you guys came up, in the Memphis and North Mississippi area, I was close to Big Jack Johnson. We've talked about that, and
Yeah,
I remember seeing you with in Jacksonville Beach with Frank Frost and Sam Carr. Remember that at the Spring and the Blues Festival
I
back in the
sure
early days?
do. I
How can
sure
you forget
do.
that?
Oh man, Frank and Sam were so cool. That was a hard gig because Frank didn't like the keyboard sound, so he quit playing keyboards. So we had to try and follow him by voice and harmonica alone. It was a mess,
Yeah,
but the
yeah.
rehearsal was great.
That's all that counts. Rehearsal was good.
Yeah,
But what killed me is Big Jack was on the next day, and you guys were on, I think, the first day. I wish that they had Jack on the same day, and
the
kind of
Jelly
set up
Roll
a
King.
Jelly Roll Kings back together again.
There
But
might have been some sort of who knows why they didn't work together.
yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, you never know. But
Hey, at the rehearsal for that gig, Jack was trying to reassure me. He was like, "Oh yeah, you got it. You're a blues man." And I was just like, I don't know
right,
about that, Mr. Frost.
yeah.
He looked at me, he said it was such a nice thing to say, but it was like,
How old were you around that age there?
Oh man, we're young. I don't know.
You
That
were
was
very
like the
young.
early 2000s, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
Might have
was
been the
young.
90s even. I
It
think it
might
could
have
have
been
been.
before.
It had to
Yeah.
be because I was working down at Jefferson Smurf and Paper. Might have been as early as 97, 98.
Shake
I
Hands with
think
Shorty, our first record, came out in 2000. It might have been before that.
it definitely was before that because I remember I was stationed down there with a consulting firm that I stopped working there at 98. But anyway, the reason we're chatting today is you're coming to the Northeast. I'm going to run down the dates that we want to see you at in my neck of the woods. I always cover the Rhythm and Roots Festival in Charlestown, Rhode Island. That's September 4th. Back in my old stomping grounds in Harvard Square at the Sinclair, September 30th. Uh, Back to Connecticut at Infinity Hall in Hartford, October 2. October 3 in Fairfield at the Warehouse in Fairfield, Connecticut, and a new supper club in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I'm dying to go. Jimmy's Jazz and Blues. They're booking everybody from Wynton Marsalis to the Blind
Ooh,
Boys of Alabama. The booking has
yes.
been dynamite, and it's an intimate show, seated vibe. And then the Brooklyn Bowl on the 6th of October, which is a fabulous venue as well. Lots of groovy stuff happens at the Brooklyn Bowl. So you got a lot of great Northeast dates, but this very early one, September 4, is what we're going to focus on, Rhythm and Roots, because it's got a great lineup. Friday, Cowboy Mouth headlines. Saturday, we have Los Tex Maniac, great Texas dance hall band.
Man.
Anders Osborne from New Orleans with Jackie Green. Your old touring partner, Grace Potter. I remember bringing Alvin Youngblood Hart down to sit in with you with that tour at Grace Potter.
Yes.
Yep, yep, down at the Paradise. And then Nathan and the Zydeco Cha-Chas and Steve Riley and the Mamu Playboys highlights for Saturday. Sunday highlights, Christine Ullman and her Sunday school thing on the rhythm stage where you're playing, I think is the hottest bands. Los Tex Maniacs at 2:15, Veronica Lewis out of Boston on keys 3:30, then the North Mississippi All-Stars at 4:45. Samantha Fish, who I'm sure you toured with Devin Allman at some point. I
Oh
don't know, I
yeah.
would imagine.
We've been
And
making
Luke,
records together too.
have you? Oh, that's awesome. Samantha's dynamite.
Yeah, I
And then
produced Wild at Heart and Belle of the West. Sorry to interrupt.
yeah, no, no. And then last but not least, Little Feat on their big anniversary tour at 8 o'clock. But yeah,
Woo!
yeah, let's touch on what you've been doing as a producer because your dad, Jim Dickinson, just a masterful producer. And I read that you and Cody shared a book about how Quincy Jones managed himself in the production booth. So tell me about your production attempts here.
Well, it's different when we're working on our own music. Then
Yep.
in that case, it's by any means necessary. But
Yep.
if I'm working with somebody else, I like to just get the right group of people together and capture some great performances, really focusing on the vocal performance, getting a live vocal, and just I also try to let the musicians, everyone follow their instincts and not let anybody. I try to discourage people telling other musicians what to do, which musicians are so want to do. And even as a producer,
Mhm.
that I'll just try and, if it's necessary, of course I'll steer the direction. But I really, once people start telling each other what to do, the whole energy and spirit changes.
I
The
agree that
most
artistic freedom is very important,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
nobody likes to be told what to do. Now, some people do like direction. As a
Yep.
session player, I like direction. It helps me. But
Yep.
the most recent thing I produced was a G Love's new record. It's called Philadelphia,
Cool.
Mississippi. And
Yeah.
it's so great. I've never made a record like this. His concept was he wanted to make a Mississippi hip hop street blues record. And
Wow.
uh, we invited all the cast of characters from Mississippi. We got Sade Thomas, of course, and Alvin Youngblood Hart, and Kingfish came and
Nice.
crushed it.
He's great.
Yeah, he was so impressive. I'll tell you about that in a second. But the and a Burnside family and Kimbrough family. But
Mm.
G Love's concept was everybody had to bring a hook or a verse or a riff and contribute to the songwriting, like a hip hop style. And
Mm.
I never made a record like that. And it was really nerve wracking just to make sure everyone was going to pull it off and we would get enough songs. But everyone totally rose to the occasion. And so, yeah, we would get together and finish writing the songs with everyone's input. And man, it really is a funky blues rap record, Philadelphia, Mississippi by G Love.
Well,
And
it almost sounds like a continuation of what Fat Possum had started.
oh yeah,
Fat
with the
Possum
remix records.
Yeah, yeah,
Those are classics now, man.
yeah.
Classics. And I guess another recent production was Luther Dickinson. It was a solo thing, but I didn't sing. But Sisters of the Strawberry Moon was the name of the band, and it was Allison Russell and Amy Helm and Sade again and Amy Levere. A great cast of characters. And Allison Russell is just her most recent solo record is fantastic, and she's
I'll have
just
to check that
blowing
out.
up. Yeah.
I will say that, I met Amy early on when she started working with the Barn Burners.
Yes.
I was on Beale Street, in fact, and walked into the Blue City Cafe music room,
Yes.
and Cotton was blowing harp on the edge of the stage, and he always knew that I had a flask for me. Hey, whiskey is what he called me. He didn't remember my name. Hey, whiskey. Came up,
That's
gave me a hug,
awesome.
went through my pockets to find the flask, and then he introduced me to Levon and Amy after the show, and so we got to know Levon and Amy through Cotton after that. And
So he would literally shake you down, pat
it
you
was
down.
hilarious. Yeah, either his wife Jackie or his road manager Tom would be with him trying to keep him sober. There was one night in Worcester. I came into the gig 15 minutes late, and he came off the stage and pretended to be working. The crowd came up, gave me hugs and kisses until he could find the flask. And
Dwayne Burnside, my friend on the road, he used to be, put it on the table, cut me in and cut it out. Say,
right.
Turn you upside down shake you by your ankles.
Boy, Dwayne could play, man. I do remember seeing Dwayne with the Allstars. Yeah.
Oh, I miss him so much. I'm gonna actually play with him early next month.
Good. Yeah, there's always those moments. But yeah, I mean, Amy has come into her own, as I was saying, as a vocalist and as a keyboardist, and she's really doing the family name. Oh, and Amando, yeah. I mean,
Really great man. And her son, Levon Helm, Levon's grandson, is a fantastic musician. He's so talented.
Already, huh?
Yeah. He's the one. He's got the spirit. I tell Amy, is like, that spirit in your son has got to be protected. That is like, he's such a natural musician and just a wild spirit. I was like, that's a national treasure.
Right on.
Levon's grandson, it's a national treasure.
Yeah, you have to foster that. That's so great.
Oh man,
boy. And you've had the Word get together in the last year, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, we've been recording, working on new music.
You have. Wonderful. Now,
Yeah.
what's the lineup that's been in the studio for the Word?
Well, of course, John Medeski and Robert Randolph,
Yep.
and
Yep.
my brother and I. And Robert introduced us to a bass player named Rayfield Holloway,
Okay.
Holloman, and Ray. And Ray comes from one of the original Sacred Steel families, and he plays every instrument, and he's just just a treasure, a wealth of knowledge of Sacred Steel. And I've been encouraging him to. I would hand him my guitar, and he plays every instrument. I'm like, okay, what would Robert like to play? So he'll make something up, and then I'll play that, and he'll jump on the bass.
Yeah, I think
Ray's magic.
you and I love the same stuff. Sacred Steel. I was a big Aubrey Gent fan,
Yeah.
and an AJ Gent fan, and obviously Robert. The Slide Brothers, when they went out, dynamite.
We just got to play with Roosevelt too, man. Roosevelt's such a sweet cat.
Nice. And you've worked with the Blind Boys and for taking it to church as well. And I love Jimmy and all the cats. So what was it like to work with the Blind Boys?
Man, I'll tell you what happened was, and we've done some shows together, and I played with them, but they recorded our song "Pray for Peace," and it was great because they revamped the music and changed some of the lyrics to make it appropriate. But
I told Jimmy that. Did you tell them that you recorded it in advance? You must have, or not.
Well, I sent them a demo. I'm friends with their manager, and he asked me for a song, and I did because we were working on that song for our record, so we were recording them at the same time. And I sent a demo to him with just guitar, voice, and foot stomp. And he was like, "Oh, this is great." And then they recorded it, and then later I said, "Oh yeah, well that's also the title track to our new record." and he was like, "Oh man, what?" And I was like, "Oh man, think about it. Back in the day, everybody recorded each other's songs, you know."
Well, I saw you play it at the Sinclair, and then I had seen Jimmy Carter shortly thereafter, and I was like, "Did you know that the North Mississippi also doing it?" He didn't seem to be aware of it, but he's a little long in tooth, and I definitely noticed some lyrical changes, but not massive,
But Joey, who the musical director, the guitar player, he's been playing with us. Hopefully he's gonna I'm working on trying to bring him to Rhode Island.
Oh great, I would love to see Joey. Yeah,
he's so fun to play with. Playing with another guitar player is my new favorite thing to do. But Joey said he told us about the recording session, and they were like reciting the lyrics, like, yeah, they said something then, like they wrote something then. I was like, for them to record our song is such an honor.
Yeah, the Blind Boys are special, and an institution. Speaking of institutions, you and I both love the Allman Brothers. You've worked with the brothers and all the components thereof. And on vocals now, you've got Lamar Williams Jr. and you have another Williams, Jesse Williams from Boston on bass, who I know very well as well. Tell me about the addition of these guys and what they're bringing to the table for the Allstars.
We met Jesse doing a gig in Boston. Our friend Marco Ginovino hired Cody and I to come up and be a house band at the Americana Museum in Boston, and Jesse was on bass. We were like, oh man. And so we've been playing together for a few years, and he's so great. And Lamar, I knew Lamar around the scene, but I really got close. I really fell under the spell during Devin Allman's Allman Family Revival Tour.
Yes.
In 90, what was it? It was in 19, I think. Charlie Starr from Blackberry Smoke. We were all doing this big show, and Charlie was having trouble with his voice. He was hoarse, and I saw him ask Lamar for help. He's like, "Man, I don't know if I can hit those notes in the bridge. Like, can you help me out on that?" And Lamar was like, "Oh man, I got you." And it was just such a kind human exchange. And then to watch them sing together, I was like, really like, wow, that's that's a cat I want to work with. That's my type of cooperative spirit,
Yes, definitely.
And so our last proper show before the lockdown was in Atlanta, where Lamar lives, and we invited him to come, and he learned a couple of tunes and sat in. So we had made a connection, and then we recorded our new record, Set Sail, during lockdown. And as the songs progressed, I started sending them to him. Like, hey man, check this out. You want to, if you have any ideas for vocals, we could collaborate on this. And he kept just sending back these genius layers. And I love working with singers, but I've never had a male singing partner that was so like-minded as Lamar before. It's such a treat. And his, of course, if for the history, his father was the second bass player in the Allman Brothers. When Barry Oakley passed, JMO, Lamar Williams Sr. and JMO grew up together in Mississippi. And when Barry passed, JMO was like, come on, I got my guy. And so Lamar played on a lot of the hits, and he definitely lived the heyday of their popularity.
Yes. Yep.
And but man, I got bad news for that our Rhode Island show in Charlestown, because Lamar is not going to be with us. He is playing with Chuck Leavell and the whole Allman family, Barry and Dwayne and Johnny, Dwayne Betts, in Indianapolis or somewhere. He can't make that gig.
Oh man,
because Chuck Leavell, that's like one of his uncles.
Right. Chuck is, with the Rolling Stones, originally with the Allman Brothers, and just one of the sweetest men you ever meet.
And
musically tight as could be. Oh,
and Lamar is such a sad blues story, because his father passed when he was like 2 or 3, and he doesn't really remember much, and never got to really truly know his father except through music. But his uncles like J-Mo and Chuck, like those are golly. And I believe that music is an act of communion with your loved ones, the musical spirits that you hold, if that's how you resonate. And I just hear him like reaching for his father when he sings, and it's such a blue vibe, man. It's deep.
I have to agree. I was reading that he started out with more of the hip hop, and as he grew, he just couldn't help but gravitate towards what was in his family bloodline, and he has found his groove in this music.
He's been playing with Trouble No More, which is a great Allman Brothers tribute band. And
Taz is in that band. Taz is dynamite.
And Peter Levin, who was from Greg's band,
Peter.
So great. And Nikki Glaspie, Jack Irons from Marcus's band, killer band. When Lamar, when he first sat in, I think he sat in with the Allman Brothers one time on their last Beacon run. He went to the Beacon and knocked on the door and talked to O'Teal. He told everybody his story and just asked for help, and O'Teal just embraced him, and they had him sit in, and Greg, so he said, sing it, take it. He said, take it, Lamar. And it was like the passing of the torch,
I think he did Midnight Rider. I think he had asked to do Midnight Rider, and Greg's like, you want to do my tune? You can steal my tune? That's what I heard.
He passed the torch right over, man. It's so sad that Greg's gone, man. What a guy, dude. And how influential was that group of young, like-minded men, forward-thinking men in the original Allman. All the music that has sprung from that root, the family tree, is so impressive.
Yeah. You might know my friend Jack Devaney. Used to be at Jack, right? And he's now a priest, and he really was instrumental in being a spiritual guide for Greg, and in his final years. And
I didn't know that. I'm seeing him all the time out on the scene. He's always around.
Yeah. No, he actually has recently left New York and gone up, I think it's New Hampshire or Vermont, to a college.
Cool.
But he's always been engaged in the music, and he just I don't know if you know the story, but he ran into Jerry Jamont one night in a club in New York, and he reunited the Kingpins. And down at BB King's as the after party for the Allman Brothers at the Beacon.
That's heavy.
And he brought down Susan and O'Teal and Derek, and they said, well, you've got to bring the Kingpins to the Beacon. And so the next night, the Allman Brothers relinquished the stage to the King Curtis Band, which had never happened. And
that's heavy.
They did a couple of tunes, and Jerry Jamont being in recovery, Greg being in recovery, and with Dwayne Allman working with Jerry
King
Jamont,
Curtis.
yeah, with King Curtis, but also he was working. I think he started out on the Layla sessions, but he was
Oh,
down, and he was Jamont and Dwayne were working on some stuff at a time when Greg wasn't around. So Greg wanted to know all about what was Dwayne doing, what was that session like, and before you know it, Jamont got hired into the Greg Allman band.
wow.
And that's
That's
and
so
so
cool.
that's the story is Father John Devaney, Jack Devaney, maxed his credit cards out to introduce everybody. And we say it's a miraculous, the will of God thing that Jamont got hired by Greg and had all those years with Greg. So
Amazing.
luckily I was able, when Jamont came around, I was able to hang out with Greg and his band, and it was just a blessing to know Floyd Miles and the whole lot of unbelievable stuff.
Such a good band. I love Greg's solo band.
Oh, and that was he often said it was more low impact at that stage of life, than going out with the Allman Brothers.
Well, he loved his horns, and it was more
He did.
soulful and there's a funny story about when they were recording one of the records. I guess it was Warren and Derek maybe, and they were recording in Memphis with Tom Dowd, and they like to record in Memphis, but and so many funny. Growing up in Memphis, I heard so many funny stories. But there was one of the newer songs that they brought in. It had one of those Allman Brother guitar licks, like na 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 na. And Greg was like, "Man, do we have to put that in there?" And Warren was like, "Yeah, man, it's the Allman Brothers. Like, we got to do that, And Greg was like, "Oh, another one of those." The last time I saw Greg, he had a lot of Memphis guys in his band.
Yes.
And the horn players, Mark and Art, were both from Memphis. And the last time I saw him, he was sitting there with Derek and Susan, and it was backstage, and he was getting ready for it. And Greg was like, "Who's on the horns?" He's like, "Do I got my horns?" And they're like, "No, it's Derek's horns." And Greg was like, "Oh man," he was so proud of his horn section. He was like, "Man, I need my horns."
It's funny that you mentioned that because I had seen Southside Johnny and the Juke Horns with the Allmans at the Beacon Theater, and I told Greg that I really loved it. I said, "Man, the Allman Brothers would be great with horns."
Yeah.
He said, "My forthcoming album, we have horns with the Greg Allman Band." So he's like, "I got what I want." And yes, you're right. So
hey, that blues record he made with T-Bone Burnett with Dr. John playing piano was so good. Do you know that record?
yes, I do. Is there anything that T-Bone Burnett has touched that isn't awesome? But
Oh yeah, but I love that record. Hey, I want to show you something funny. I've got this vinyl here, the Anthology Volume 2.
Yes.
Dwayne Allman Anthology. So the last time I opened this up, old ancient pack of zigzags fell out of this seam because I used this to no end growing up. So this picture here of the brothers with like their stacks and stacks of amplifiers. And the drums are in front of the amplifiers. And one day I asked JMO, I was like, "Man, those old pictures of you guys sitting playing drums in front of the walls of amps, like what was in those amps? Like what?" And he was like, "Loud ass guitar."
Which explains probably the hearing loss at this day.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Loud ass guitar.
That's it. And JMO lives nearby. He's right in Bloomfield, Connecticut.
Awesome.
So he'll be right near the Infinity. If he's not on tour, you should call him up, man.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Lamar's been playing with JMO in the big band. It's
right.
Yeah, with Roosevelt on slide, and it's like a big band arrangement of the Classic Brothers.
Yeah, that's a cool project. I almost got to go to one of those. It was just a little too far, but man, this is fun chatting. The other thing about the new record is you have yourself William Bell from Stax Records on Never Want to Be Kissed, and I listened to that and I was like, "Oh, I love William Bell." What a dynamite guy. I last saw him at the tribute to BB King at the Cap.
Cool.
Right as COVID was descending upon us. But I finally got to catch back up with William Bell in person, and tell me about how you engaged William Bell. Obviously your family from Memphis and, working there so much.
My brother Cody and William became really close working on the Take Me to the River movie. And if
Great
you haven't
movie.
seen that, that's a hit movie. Yeah, the first one, Take Me to the River, Memphis, and the second one is about New Orleans. And
The interactions with Mavis I wanted to talk about as well. Just
yeah,
another sweetheart.
We worked with Mavis on that movie as well.
Yeah.
But William invited us to come to the studio and write a song. He wanted to work together. And we did. And I've never seen anybody write like William. We came in and he had the whole plot. It was like a film or a short story. And he laid the whole thing out and he kept telling us a story. And we just took the story and made it rhyme, and then the melodies just flew out of him and we just find the right chords. And we left out of there. We left the studio with a voice memo. We had a raggedy voice memo of like little guitar, little bass, and keyboards, and him singing. And we took the voice memo and slammed it to a drum beat in the computer, and then we just started overdubbing on it from there. Because it could have eased. It's not an easy song. It would have been hard to play it from scratch, but we just built it up from that voice memo. And some of what you hear on the record is from the phone. So,
oh wow, that's timely.
It's such an honor, man. To, working with William, working with Mavis, working with Phil Lesh, the Blind Boys of Alabama. I'm so honored anytime to work with the elders, and these heroes are in their 80s and 90s. We got the Blind Boys of Alabama on a Phil Lesh and Friends gig. And I told Phil, I was like, man, these cats are older than you. He was like, it's not possible. And I was like, no, man, when your age is estimated early 90s, like you're older. If you're estimating your age, you got it beat. You got him beat.
Oh, and Jimmy Carter won't tell you his age if you interview him. I love it. I don't know if he doesn't want the ladies to know how old he is or what.
It's like Robert Randolph. He's still 28,
right? No, he's not. You'll bust him out on that one. Oh, mercy. So I love the trippy vibe on the new record, and it's very relaxed. Most of it's real a chill vibe.
Thanks.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of some of the guys that like a Junior Kimbrough, didn't rush things, built it up. You know what I mean?
That's really a good point, man, because it's been a struggle playing the new songs live because they're so slow. I think that was the one downfall of the recording during lockdown, was that the tempos are so slow. I pointedly wanted to make it relaxed, and I wanted to make a psychedelic folk rock record. I'm so glad you said it was trippy, because that's really what I set out to do. Our last record, Up and Rolling, was tribute to Hill Country Blues, and laid that down. And this time, I had all these lyrics, and just wanted to make to go back to Quincy Jones. That's what we learned from Quincy's book. One of the things is that he never let a singer record a vocal with a lyric sheet. You have to internalize the lyrics to work with Quincy.
Yes.
And so all the new record of ours, it started with my lyric book, acoustic guitar, and drum machine. But then when I went back to do the keeper vocals, I would not allow myself to use the lyric sheet. And man, it really led to a new way of editing that I never, and some of the lyrics are improvised. Some of the I was re-editing and reinterpreting as I recorded. And another was the phonetic. Sometimes if I was having trouble with a word or a note, I realized it was the sound of the word, not the note. So I would change the lyrics to make it sing more pleasing to my vibe. So anyway, I don't know what the hell we're talking about. I just went on a journey.
Well, you were talking about how Q did things, and your
the new record,
the new record. But I mean, and that's what the juke joint sound with Junior RL. There was always that trippiness. There were always. I remember having a girlfriend. I introduced her to your music and to RL and Junior, and she was a big Deadhead, and she had never heard these blues people. She's like, this is what I've really been looking for.
Awesome.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Hill Country music is so trancy and psychedelic, man. It's very drony. Not a lot of chord changes in it. Gives it that feeling. And
Yeah.
also the corn whiskey. You know, with those guys, the vibe they were on, it is truly psychedelic. That corn liquor they um serve up down in Mississippi is psychedelic.
Yeah, well, he'll knock you on your butt. So yeah, man. And you know, we have to mention your work with Otha Turner. I mean, speaking of our elders, I mean, only got to see Otha live once myself, but unbelievable stuff.
Thank you, man. Yeah, we were so fortunate to know him. He took me under his wing in the early 90s, we met in the late 80s, but he played a homemade bamboo cane fife, and his
Yep.
family members played marching drums, bass drum, a couple of snare drums, and it was party music. It was outside acoustic picnic music. And but to me, that hit the fife and drum music really is a great way to describe the hill country guitar style, because
Yeah.
there's no chord changes, it's just rhythm and melody. And that's a lot like Fred McDowell and Junior Kimbrough. It's just a drony, harmonically it's droning, but it's very strong rhythmically and melodically, you know.
Yeah, yeah, it's unto itself, and you can almost see the line right back to African music almost.
Oh yeah, Othar said that the music came from it was African funeral music, is what Othar said.
Oh wow.
It was like a second line, like they would do fife and
Yeah,
drum to
Exactly. I was just thinking of second line. Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, man.
just heavy.
Well, I'm excited to see you guys. Anything else that folks need to know about? Where can they get the new record and
Yeah,
find out
set
more about
sail.
you? Set
sure
Sail
is.
is your new record.
Yes.
North Mississippi Allstars website, easy enough to find, Amazon, all that, right?
Yes, and we're looking forward to come to Charlestown.
And there's a great merch tent. I'm sure you'll be signing after your set, right?
I'm sure we won't.
You won't?
No, we never do that.
No.
They won't let me at the merch tent because I'm such a bad salesman. I'll just get as a hey, you can have 2 for 1, or no, you can just have it. Oh, you only got $10, take it anyway.
Right. You're a softie is what it is, huh?
Exactly. I love making the art, but I hate selling it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Cool. Well, then I'm gonna have to sneak backstage and find you to say hi.
Please do. I look forward to it.
Yeah, I would love that. All right, man. Well, I can't thank you enough for this time, and
Thank you.
we will see you once again September 4th in Charlestown, Rhode Island, Rhythm and Roots.
Great.
Thanks so much, man.
All right. Have a good day.